As Celios returns with you, Jove, he only rolled an 8 on his check. Um, he seems not as well prepared to lead you in a direction as he usually is. Between the snowfall and your depth in the forest, he seems to be struggling, so your first survival check will be made flat.
Gotcha.
As we head out, I'm gonna point out to Jove how easy it was to say intricacies as opposed to nuances.
Both are intricate and nuanced words, and they are difficult to say. That is only a 10 for that first survival.
Everybody go ahead, minus Virgil, and make me a constitution saving throw.
Is my body cold?
Um, I would say as you feel kind of your body and everything, Virgil, to you, you feel perfectly fine. You feel room temperature. Like it doesn't feel any different to you. If anything, it feels nice out. You can.
Alder, you're expert on temperature. I don't know if that's racist, but do I feel warm or cold or normal?
Well, I typically just feel everything warm, so I guess I'll know if you're really cold, and you can put a hand on him and feel.
Fucking freezing. Virgil is so fucking cold.
Virgil, you are freezing. I mean, it's cold out, but
It's probably one of those anti-fevers that's going around. You know the ones.
Alder kind of looks over at Jove, a little confused.
Yeah,
Have you
Jove will.
have you heard of?
Well,
Are you sure
anti-fever.
you're feeling okay right now? Do you got a?
I mean, we're in the middle of the cold. I mean,
How do you feel physically? You still feel like yourself? You feel strong? You feel weak, achy? What are your symptoms?
a little bit of all of the above. I mean, I did have my life essence drank from my body, so not great on that front.
You're right, could be a side
Um,
effect of the left drain.
but I've had worse hangovers.
How's your grip on your pickaxe?
Uh, I take out my pickaxe. What do I feel about it?
Uh, you feel your grip feels strong, but you do notice that your hands start to itch as you hold onto your silvered pickaxe. It doesn't hurt, but it feels vaguely uncomfortable. Your grip is strong. You swing the war pick with strength and power, but can't help but to feel this itching in your hands as you touch the silver.
Grip is fine. Uh, yeah, I seem to have all of my agencies about me.
Well, then at least we can rule out frostbite. It means you're not going to lose a digit or anything like that. So, as long as you're feeling able and willing to keep this rut going, I think that's really the best thing that we can do. But yeah, I think we all should be keeping eyes on each other, making sure we're standing up straight because it's a cold one out here today. And I did roll a 14 for the con save.
And what'd you roll, Alder?
I rolled a 6.
A 6? Alder, you take one level of exhaustion.
Gotcha. And also, real quick, let me roll my portents because I forgot to do that at the start there. You're
Indeed.
coming
Those
off
poor
the break.
tents.
Important.
The important portents. That is a 15 and a 16, hilariously.
Gotcha. Would you like
15
to
and
use your
16.
portent on your Constitution saving throw?
Yeah, let's use the 16.
16, you pass. Joe, go ahead and give me that survival check as you continue to trek through the early morning.
Oh, that is worse with a 9.
The 9. You continue heading east into the south, the same kind of direction, the same path that you followed. As you're traveling through, can everybody roll me a perception check?
Passive 12.
That's a
Passive
14.
12.
That's a 14. 14. Virgil, you notice as you are all traveling that just on the outskirts of your vision, you catch the glimpse of something else moving in the forest. It's too far away to see clearly, but you feel certain that something has watched you. Have everybody go ahead and make that Constitution saving throw again.
16.
16, pass.
Normal 20.
Pass. And then Virgil does not need to. Pass. Joe, go ahead and give me that survival check once more.
That is a 14.
A 14. Joe, if you continue moving your party south, when you begin to recognize parts of the forest, you find your old path. You can see the heavy boot prints of Virgil, the much lighter step of Alder and yourself, briefly covered a bit by the snow, but you feel very certain you're on the right path. As you continue to head south, can everybody make that Constitution saving throw?
It's at 21.
A 15.
Both pass. You continue to head down south, and it's not long before the sounds of the forest give way to the sounds of camp. You see the large half-built gazebo has been finished. You can see bits of tools and looks like rope and foliage all twisted together, and this kind of marital mismatched half gazebo, assuming that the couple would stand beneath it, perhaps. The camp is in full swing in this kind of mid-morning. Alder, with your keen senses, I think you probably started traveling around 7. It's about 3 or 4 hours now, probably closer to 11, as you enter back to the Mosleviran camps. You can see them hustling and bustling about, working on their crafts, finishing out the finishing touches on the half gazebo. And you can see Tyrese moving from one group of women to the next, giving them directions, having them move certain crates, boxes, and the likes, cleaning up after what appears to be lunch. You see Tyrese sees you all and raises a hand, calling you over.
Yeah, we go.
Yeah, we come over at her beckon.
Ah, you've all returned. Welcome back.
Indeed. We held up our end of the bargain, and we need to talk about things. Maybe something a little more private.
Of course. She heads back to her Vardo, her covered wagon, and invites you all in once more.
Is this the one with the book collection?
It is indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, I imagine we all head in.
Yes.
You enter into Tyrese's Vardo. She sits once again next to that large crystal ball. Well, it is just the three of you, so I will assume that things did not go well. Where's Layla?
And Alder will reach into his coat and kind of hold the necklace by the chain and let it hang.
While they're talking, I'm gonna look at her book collection.
Go and give me an investigation check.
Okay.
And what are you kind of looking for?
Oh yeah. I'm looking for anything on alternative humanoids.
Gotcha. What'd you roll?
For investigation, that's a 20.
A 20. Looking around, you see various books on crafting, some Vistani histories written here or there. You do see one book that is decorated in various humanoids. Some appear to be regular Vistani, others skeletal, a whole kind of menagerie of different creatures adorn the outside of this book. And as the party talks and you kind of flip through the pages, you can see.
Oh, I ask if I can use it first.
Teresa waves her hand in agreement and seems more focused on the task at hand, allowing you to pick up the book and thumb through it. I'll say with your investigation of 20, you see illustrations of long-limbed creatures similar to the ones that you have fought in the past. Flipping through, you even see a drawing of a man and a wolf side by side. It seems to be kind of a bestiary of sorts, cataloging some of the creatures you would find out here. You'll probably
I
need
was
to
originally
study.
thinking of the word bestiary, but I'm looking for humanoids though.
Yes, it seems to be all manner of different creatures encountered through the mists. It'll take some time to really start digging through it, but already it seems in the right vein of knowledge you're seeking.
At the end of the conversation, I would ask to borrow it.
We'll jump to that at the end of the conversation. As Virgil is searching through, we'll say this is your investigation 20 and the like, searching through her various literature. You hold up the necklace and... So, she has abandoned the marriage and her family? Is that what you were saying?
In a sense. It seems there was much more to this Layla than anybody seemed to know. Thought we were looking for someone that ran away, and we found somebody performing some sort of ritual. As soon as we saw her, she opened up and attacked us. Did what I had to do to save my friends. I'm sure you understand.
This is about all that was left of her. And Jove will get the two teeth out, and he'll put them in his hand and kind of show them to Tyresa.
That boy, the Mortu, that you had run off, we found him tied up. It's her about to perform some sort of ritual on him. She opened up on us, started attacking, nearly took out one of us. I made sure that there wasn't going to be a second.
Her features harden. Her lips pulled tight. She stoically reaches forward and holds the teeth in her hands. A perversion of the sight. And the natural conclusion of conversing with the mortal. You see her speak some words in a heavy tongue unfamiliar to your Faerunian ears. A tragedy. Truly. I will be keeping these as we deal with her effects. I will thank you for discovering the twisted nature of Layla. It appears that one way or another we lost a daughter no matter what. But we made good on our word. Go to the Bogorovs. Let Donani know of what became of his betrothed. And should you return, if you would like to learn our ways, it is our duty to instruct you. She turns to you, Virgil. If you have found something of your liking, and you make good to return it back to me, you may take it with you. But no. Should you abscond with my literature of the night, I will find you, and I will return it back to us. Her hand kind of glides over the crystal ball, and Virgil, you see a shadowed figure of yourself, the book burning brightly in purple light. Alder, you recognize a locate object spell when you see it. She grips Layla's teeth in her hand tightly. Looks distantly, as if looking past you all. As if seeing the shadows of something to come in the future. I thank you once again, but she stands up and kind of pats herself down, puts the teeth into a pocket. I have grave news to break to the family. I would make yourselves scarce for the time, even as most Laverics feel deeply. You did not leave her body out to the elements, did you?
A certain element.
Well,
She
her body was burned. Hence
she was
why just the teeth is left.
she was cremated. Alder says, kind of looking around.
Good. She stands up and holds out her hand for you guys to leave her bardo.
Jove will take the hint and skedaddle.
Virgil, go ahead and add a Vistani Bestiary to your equipment. As you all exit the bardo into the camp.
Joe, do you think your bird friend will be able to find its way back here if I was to give it a book?
Aselios pops over. Ah! Yeah! Ah! You see that the book is, compared to Celios, he's a full-sized raven, and them bad boys get pretty big. So he feels confident he could return such a thing, should you ask it of him. He actually kind of flitters over to your shoulder, Virgil, and looks at the book, and you can't help but to get the strong sensation that he is actively reading the cover.
I mean, I'm aware that this is an intelligent bird. I'm not too surprised by this.
Then I will rephrase that as Asilius flits over to your shoulder and you watch him read the book.
Yes. As it is not normal, I am also not surprised.
It's pretty typical Asilius behavior.
Yeah.
In fact, he seems quite interested in it.
If
Kinda
anything,
s-
sometimes I just assume he's trying to show off. He's not actually interested in what's in the book. He's like, oh, by the way, I can read. So,
Just guess what, guys?
Guess what? Most of these villagers don't know how to read, but me, a bird, does. But with that, with the Celios agreement to return the book at a later date, you see Tyresa begins calling over her family, kind of around the gazebo, and you see her reach into a pocket and pull out the teeth, and like watching the wave at a sporting event, but instead of raising their hands up, their heads bow all together. You hear sobs beginning to erupt from some of the women. Some of the men turn to the gazebo, and you see Oddvan immediately begins to tear part of it down. There is sadness and anger, and it is very communal. Every person of the Moslevarix camp is immediately affected by this news. Some hold each other, some walk off to their Vardos, some put their head in their hands. It feels very midsummer as they all experience this grief together. And as you turn back towards the forest, heading further east back to the Bogorov camps, Joe, can I have you make that survival check?
Sure can. It's another 10.
10. You begin heading east. Jove and Alder, go ahead and make me Constitution saving throws, as the snow does begin to pick up.
17.
Pass.
15.
Pass. You continue along the course. Celios perched on Virgil's shoulder. Everybody go ahead and make me a perception check again.
Passive 12.
14.
16.
16. Jove, Alder. Once again, further east into the thicker part of the forest. Virgil, once again you see something moving out there. This time, Jove, you're able to get a shape. Seemingly humanoid with a large bow strapped to their back. And followed by, let's say with the 16, an animal seems to be sticking next to it. It's hard to see its coat in kind of the distance and the darkness of the forest, even in this kind of midday, but as Virgil points it out to you and you put your eyes to it, you certainly do see something probably about 120 so feet away from you, keeping its distance, but definitely watching your path.
Jove would just alert Alder to the presence, just so everybody knows that there's eyes on them. But isn't going to take any other moves if it feels like they're just watching from a distance.
Okay, so you get a strong feeling that you are being actively scouted.
Hearing that, for the Alder won't take too many chances for the rest of the trip. As hearing that, he'll nod and do a quick incantation as you see his skin turn to charcoal, as he will cast mage armor on himself.
Jove, go ahead and roll me a survival check.
Is there any way that I could have like the intention with this survival check to be to try and like throw them off the trail a little bit? Maybe a couple of double backs and that kind of thing.
You can. It will raise the DC of this,
Let's do it.
as you're trying to navigate and be stealthy at the same time.
That's an 11.
Everybody go ahead and roll stealth checks. All their do so at advantage.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I have a +3 now for 7.
Nice.
I got a 22.
Even with my disad, I got a 21.
A 21, a 22, a 7 with an 11 in survival. Everybody go ahead and make me a Constitution saving throw. Sans Virgil.
16.
Pass.
Do I want to use the porn? I'll save the porn for now, just in case. So I'll take the fail. That's a 10.
10. That is indeed a failure. 1 level of exhaustion. Jove, you double back and go along trails. You flit in between. You and Alder melting in and out of the shadows as Virgil trudges behind you. Can I have everybody make me a perception check?
16.
17.
Passive 12.
Jove, Virgil, you look back to see if anybody is following your trail. And for a moment, it looks like the coast is clear, but ever so briefly, once again, that same 120 feet, you see movement once more. And I'll say with the 17, you begin to hear the sounds of camp once more. The loud, bustling, music-heavy, dancing afoot camp of the Bogorovs, only a few hundred feet off from you.
I think Jove will try and lead us towards camp.
With the nod and leaving the figures in the forest behind, you break into the clearing that the Moslaveriks have, or the Bogorovs have set up for camp. You can see that they are packed up, ready to travel, various traveling clothing all put on them, cloaks and furs, the sky blue scarfs in full adornment, all the women in fine dresses, seem a little unfit for travel, but exceptionally nice. Many of them have bracelets and armbands, necklaces, earrings, jewelry, all adorning them. The family looks ready for a wedding as they finish up kind of the lax, as they're packing everything up and putting it all together. You see Elias is instructing some men to put some large, heavy crates, and they all, you can hear them reach out, "But no, not you, Elias." He's like, "Because I am old." And laughter kind of shoots out through the camp. They seem to be in exceptionally good spirits as you re-enter the camp, and you can see that the Vistani, the Bogorovs that see you, all raise a hand. They smile brightly and wave at you. Alder, give me a perception check.
Passive 12.
Passive 12. You see Annika at the other side of the camp, her back turned to you, in a sky blue dress, the darkened leather corsets along the back, her hair braided in many patterns with blue scarves twisted into them. She moves, helping some of the other women pack up. Doesn't seem to have noticed you, but you can recognize her graceful form from across the camp.
He tries not to make it obvious that he noticed her immediately.
Go ahead and give me a deception check.
Think of it, that's with disadvantage. Okay. Oh, you know? With, that's deception you said? With disadvantage, that's still an 18.
An 18. You catch yourself staring. Almost end up stepping over some crates and the likes, but you're able to refocus and avoid falling over while looking at Annika. Instead, you all enter the camp to a warm greeting. And it's not long before someone taps Elias on the shoulder, and he's turned and sees the rest of you. You see his wizened, heavily tanned, and scarred old man as he comes on over. He's got a easy smile on, and seems happy for your return. My friends, welcome back. The Bogorovs welcome you once more.
It's honor to be back and see friendly faces again. You guys look like you're about to take off any moment.
Yes, it is time for us to meet with the Mosaverics. Begin moving forward. It's not often two camps like this get to come together. And he kind of gestures back with a big smile, are very ready for this performance.
Yeah, listen, we need to talk a little bit about everything. You might even want us to step away from the crowd for a second.
And he shakes his head and puts a hand out. No, that is not our way. If you've come bringing poor tidings, let all hear. Do you have the necklace? And as he looks to you, and the lightness and the cheeriness is washed away by a seriousness and a stoicness that a leader must employ in such places. He stands up a bit straighter, moves the scarf tightly onto his hat, making sure that his hair sticks out of his face, and he looks at you with an even gaze, prepared for what comes next.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news on this one. And he'll reach in his coat again and hold out the heirloom to Istani. Or Elias, I'm sorry, Elias. Read the wrong note.
What? Oh, it's fine. He's Vistani through and through.
He is Vistani, yes. And he'll just say, this is what remains of her. I'm sorry to say that the wedding is off.
He exhales deeply. Donani, come here. And as his voice kind of travels through the camp, you see Donani comes from the other side of the camp, past the remnants of the big bonfire, and comes up to Elias, and Elias turns and holds out the necklace. I'm sorry, Donani. Wasn't meant to be. But fret not. Time heals the heart of the young. You'll find another. And Donani stares at the necklace hanging in his hands, and you see anger and pain, despair, sadness. His face turns red, his eyes immediately well with tears, his hands turn into white knuckles as he clenches his fists. And as you see his whole body about to break into a loud sob, he runs off to the other side of the camp. You can see him wiping away the tears as he runs to the other side. There's a Vordo, and he immediately runs into it. There's a loud slamming of a door. And you hear like a record being taken off the needle. The camp becomes quiet. The music no longer plays as Donani's outburst is heard throughout. Apologies. Donani's young. Heartbreak is a new sensation. Was it the Morteau? Was his obsession so much that he had to take Layla from Donani? Did you put him down? Did you rid us of this Morteau? It brings nothing but tragedy.
Sorry to say this, Elias, but no, it was not this Mortu's fault for Layla's demise. Something wicked found its way into her, and in the interest of truth, she had been changed into something that hungered and sought to feed on Hansi. I feel for your kin's heartbreak, but in all told, a larger tragedy may have just been avoided.
What could one expect when you invite the Morteau into your life? But you've all done well. It is not the outcome that any of us would have wanted, but Donani is safe. And we will recover. We will sing songs and tell stories. A new day will come. And in time this will be a bad memory. And a cautionary tale to all Vistani. The dangers of a Morteau that lurks in the mists. What now for you all?
Well, we were hoping that we could still make do on promises from both ends. I'm sorry that we had to deliver bad news. However, as you said, we did hold our end of the bargain. We still need to find a way to get around these woods and around the mists. I don't know if you're leaving right now, but we still want to know what information you have, your techniques, how it is you get around. Please.
Of course. You've kept your word. Return to us. You shall share in our ways. We were to set off to head towards the Moslaverics at tomorrow's light. Join us. See how we travel. You'll join the Moslaverics in this time. Perhaps new love may find its flame.
Indeed. Before we take off, though, a word of caution, friend. We don't know exactly what, but we could tell that something was watching us on our way back. The way that we came from that camp. I don't know exactly how you walk around in these mists, or if you got a way to cheat around, but there's something over on the other end that might have eyes on us now.
Now that you say that, would you please follow me? I think I have something that might help. And Danani begins heading towards the northeastern part of camp. You see, leads you out about 15 or 20 minutes out. And there, you see a scene. There is dark red stains modeled onto branches and onto the snow. A dark purplish green ichor is pooled in one area. An arrowhead attached to a darkened purpled shaft. And what appears to be some sort of webbing that's attached to some of the trees in the ground where the dark red stains are the heaviest. One of our young men went missing. A few days before you all arrived. Didn't think it was prudent to bring it to your attention. But if we're being watched from the woods, perhaps these two things are not unrelated. We're no strangers to what lurks in the mists, but... And he finger thumbs the arrow. But I know a good scene when I see one. Perhaps you all could take a better look. There was no body, no corpse. Hell, no one even heard the sounds of a struggle. And kind of takes a step back and lets you all examine the scene.
Sorry, I had to hit my inhaler there for a second. Yeah, Alter would look to see if they're... Well, first off, he wants to check all the markings immediately.
Go ahead and, what are you looking for in these markings? Are you trying to discern what made it? What kind of markings they are? What is the exact nature of your inquiry?
I think he's trying to see... He's trying to get an idea of, like, what made these markings, and if there's, like a sign of direction, right? If you could tell, like, it came from somewhere, or, like, trying to, like, piece together, like, what made the markings and the movement of them, essentially.
Go ahead and roll me investigation.
Okay. Is with disadvantage. Rolled the same number twice. So that is a 17.
17. Looking at the marks here, it's easy to see that there certainly was a struggle. Multiple bodies here at one point. You see the signs of humanoid footsteps. One coming from the camp. Looks like two coming from the forest. However, you also see what appears almost like claw marks. Imagine like a peace sign where your feet should be. And these claws come from the northern part of the forest, a different direction from the other three sets of footprints you see here. Where you see these claw marks, you see that same kind of purpley green, and ever so slightly a drop or two of what appears to be red blood still stained into the grounds on some of the trees and leaves heading back north. It's the same direction as this web-like fluid that you find on some of the trees. Appears to be heading north and farther to the west.
Alder will say, "You guys keep taking a look around. I want to take a look at this fluid here a little bit." And Alder will ritual cast Identify to see if he can figure out the makeup of this at all. If he can figure out if it is magical or what it might be related to, if anything.
You identify. It doesn't have a school of magic attached to it. You know that you've had that same kind of odd divination magic on everything in this world. Everything radiates with a certain low-level divination, like a shadow over all things here. As you look at this, it has that same sort of divination magic over it, but a lack of anything else. It seems that barring your kind of just general Barovian darkness, that the blood itself is not magical. It seems more beast-like than anything else, and it does not ping with your Identify spell, other than the same sort of shadow that's over all things in Barovia.
Gotcha. Well, it doesn't seem magical in nature, so whatever did this or left this green trail behind, certainly organic, likely a beast that's prowling.
Can Jove look for scraps of fur or anything that might be a leaving from an animal?
Go ahead and roll me nature.
I'll start leafing through my new bestiary to see
Cool.
to see if leafing through it brings me to anything.
Yeah.
It's an
All right.
11 from Jove.
An 11 from Jove. Virgil, go ahead and roll investigation on your bestiary.
Ooh, 18.
18. You start flipping through, looking for anything unique to this. Jove, with the 11, you confirm that it is spider webs on the trees, but larger, thicker, and heavier than any natural spider that you're used to. The blood appears to be human, that's red, and you feel very strongly that the kind of greenish purple that you see here is also blood from whatever creature made this. With the 18 you said, Virgil, for the bestiary?
Yes.
You flip through and start looking for creatures that could make webs, something that bleeds the right color. And I'll say with your 18, you find a description of a spider-like creature, two-legged, large claws on the hands and on the feet that would match very similarly to the claw marks you see in the grounds. It is called an ettercap. It is this strange, monstrous, human-like spider that is known for hunting humanoids as its main prey. Typically lurking out in forests, in enclaves of other ettercaps, where they raise and harvest smaller spiders from the bodies of humanoids.
I bring it up to Jove like a happy, proud 6-year-old who just learned something at school. Hey, look what I found. Hey, look at what I found.
And Joe, reading over this, it's a direct match to what you're seeing. You look at the illustrations of the feet here, and then back at like the web and the markings on the ground, and you feel very strongly that Virgil is definitely onto it, that he's correct in his investigation.
Well, I think you're onto something there, Virgil. Whoever this was fought a, what does that say, a intercap? An intercap. Looks like this trail of blood, though, seems that maybe neither of them finished the job quite off, so could be a survivor in this situation.
Well,
Well, someone did survive and they were from this camp. They can't be in good shape. He said it's been a number of days, and well, if they were able to make it back, they would have. I reckon they're on death's door.
so we look for them.
Well, I'm sure Elias doesn't want to leave anybody behind.
I suppose we should look for it. At least in this immediate vicinity. I don't think we should trail off too far. Not without the Vistani. We should stick along with them. Anyways, we need what we got out of them, and well, I don't want them dying and getting taken off by the spider while we're out here looking for it, chasing circles. So, like I said, immediate area. That's my vote.
Can Joe follow? If I'm picking that up correctly, is there a trail of blood that Jove can track? Of human
Give
blood?
me a survival check.
Nice! That's a 21.
Yeah,
Nice.
you feel that you could probably follow these tracks rather well. Looking for these kind of long clawed footprints and a little bit of blood leading you there. It changes from red to purplish green as they travel it through, although the red seems much heavier than the purple green.
Yeah, I say we take off, following it.
Let's do it.
Jove, you begin leading your party towards the northwest, kind of this area leading between the Bogorov and the Mosleveric's camp. You follow it for a time. Can I have everybody roll me perception checks as you're following this trail? No survival check needed.
Ooh, 18.
13.
15.
18. You begin looking out, looking for ettercaps or more paths on this trail. The path before you is clear, and the boughs of the trees are hardly weighted down with snow at all. In fact, there seems to be almost no snow at all on these trees. As you've been heading north, it's like you've reached a point where the snow simply stopped. However, the chill in the air is still noticeable. And out in the distance, Virgil, you hear it clear as day. A bird call. A high-pitched, lively bird call. And as you're noticing this, you hear another call out in response. lights and high-pitched. And you think to yourself that's the first time you've heard a bird call in weeks that wasn't the sound of a raven. And as Virgil stops and listens in on this, Jove, you hear a bird call. As do you, Alder. A long, trailing call, and then a response. In the same sort of pitch and tone. Everybody go ahead and roll me survival checks.
Dirty 20.
It's an
1.
8. Oh no.
Hey, I rolled a 2.
Jove. You think on it. Kind of the same conclusion that you haven't heard any sort of bird calls this whole time, minus the calls of ravens. And something clicks in your brain. You know that type of call. That's an imitation of a bird. Something or someone is calling out to each other in the woods.
Jove is going to do his best to communicate that kind of non-verbally to Alder and Virgil.
Oh, make me a performance check. That's a hard one.
That's a 14.
A 14. Virgil and Alder, roll me insights. As Jove
I'm
tries
using
to...
Acelios as a prop, too.
5.
13.
Jove, you pantomime to Acelios, and Acelios tries to help. Alder, Virgil, just looks like a whole lot like Jove is just making a puppet bird with his hands and playing with Acelios.
Yeah,
It's-
I hear it too.
Yeah, they're definitely calling.
So I'll say that you, non-verbally, you know Jove is trying to tell you something, but what it has to do with Acelios and the birds around here, you're not quite sure.
It's a really nuanced bird call, wouldn't you say, boys?
It comes full circle.
There it is! +1!
There it
Plus
is.
1 to Jove.
Oh my god.
Used
Hell yeah.
it
That's all that we
correctly.
needed.
Took us-
Is
took
this
us
bird
15
call
sessions.
intrinsic to them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly some intricacies about it, and he puts his hand near his weapon to give his best hint that he got the message.
Can we tell, hearing the bird calls, like which directions they're coming from specifically?
Make me an investigation check.
That is an 8.
An 8. From where you're standing at right now, no. You can hear they're off in the distance, but with the number of them, it's hard to pinpoint exactly where it's coming from. It sounds like it's coming down from the trees more than anything else. As your eyes scan the trees, you see no birds, No songbirds roosting or nesting, not even crows. The only bird you see is Celios, who looks just as confused as the rest of you on what Jove is doing.
They'll get there.
Whoa,
Whoa.
whoa. Jove, do you push your party forward and continue to follow these tracks?
Unless there's any objections from the party, he would push forward with an eye to the canopy in the tree line.
You push forward, Jove, your party members following behind you, your eyes cast to the canopy, looking for something. The bird calls continue to follow. About once every 100 or so feet, it rings out. You enter into a clearing. No trees or snow dot this area. The bird calls stop as suddenly as they began. Your eyes are drawn to the edges of this clearing. And a moment later, you see a number of humanoid figures begin to emerge from the cover of the forest surrounding you. 3 of them carry strung longbows, while the 4th wears a long green cloak of living leaves, carries a long stash of polished purple wood. You see behind this figure a pair of muscular green-furred hounds pound alongside her. They growl behind. You all recognize these as elven hunting dogs, kushis. The cloaked elf draws back her hood, revealing fine female features with long pointed ears. Does anybody speak Elvish?
Jove does.
Jove, you hear in that thick French-like accent, "You do not belong here," in a melodic voice. Are you yet more manifestations of the wickedness that has befallen our home, the quivering forest? You look into her eyes, and you see the warm, light brown, like fresh bark, stare back at you. Alert, focused. And you can't help but get the sense of the age of this elven woman. For she looks like she could be in her early 20s, but you know with those elves and their long lifespans that her eyes betray much more experience. As the 3 other elves kind of move around you all 3, each one with a bow prepared, leveled at each one of your hearts. The 2 kushis stand primed, ready at her side, as she clearly is leading this group.
Jove will respond in Elvish and say, "You're right, we don't belong here, and that's part of the problem here. We're trying to make our way back to the Quivering Forest, and I don't claim to know nothing about you or your people, but I have a feeling that maybe the woods of Barovia is not where you call home either. We're just trying to get back to the Moonsea."
She looks
Ain't no
you...
dark-
Yo, go for it.
He says, "We ain't no dark manifestations, nothing. Just a couple of lost folk trying to see our homes again."
She gives a command to the kushis, who move forward cautiously and begin to smell you, Jove. They stop growling, yet they still stay in their kind of ready to attack move. but they come back to their master and stand by her side, and she speaks a couple quick barks as they return in a different tenor back to her. She nods, then turns back to you and, with the head tilted to the side, speaks in Elvish. I do not know of this Barovia, but the quivering forest has changed. The woods are unfamiliar to us. Green Hall lays in shadow. The woods hunger, and they have already stolen one family from us. My hounds tell me that you do not smell of our people. You smell of the small folk to the south. It appears you too are misplaced. And go ahead and everybody roll me an insight check. As you watch Jove have this conversation in Elven, watch these hounds smell him in return.
7.
7.
15.
Jove.
Oh, 10.
10. Jove, Virgil, you're more focused on the weapons drawn, gazed at you, but Alder, you've seen people in tense negotiation scenarios before. You know a thing or two about keeping your head calm when weapons are drawn. And you can't help but to see that these elves seem just as scared and nervous as you are. They're not monsters primed to attack, they are scouts, rangers. And with the staff, the clothing, the living leaves around this woman, you can't help but to think of Seer. You feel strongly that this woman is a druid as well. And she seems just as off-put by this forest, more so than you ever saw Seer or any of the other Green Hall elves before. They look lost.
And he'll even kind of like lean in a little bit and whisper to Jove. Jove, I think the girl you're talking to, I think she's a druid, personally. And everyone looks like they're about to shit bricks right now.
That's duly noted, Alder. And he'll kind of clear his throat and address the woman again and say, yes, we have been misplaced, all of us. And whatever this place is, seems to be perhaps a crossing over point of some sort. I'm sure you've experienced the mists so far, but we've been into some settlements here. They call this place Barovia. They have no concept of the Moon Sea or of Flan or of the Quivering Forest. They call this place I believe, the Svalich Woods. We, us three, had been in the Quivering Forest before being beset by Hag and found ourselves in this dreadful plane. But I suppose there's no way to make you trust me, but at the very least, I can start with an introduction. My name's Joe Featherfoot. I'm a summer strider of the Emerald Enclave. Back home, that is.
Jove, go ahead and make me a persuasion check with advantage. Do you produce your sigil of the Emerald Enclave?
I sure would, and he'd be
What a
showing
name
off the,
drop.
Indeed,
you showed off the ring of the dryad too.
you present your vestiges of the Emerald Enclave and make your plea to the woman. What's your roll?
It's not great. It's an 11.
An 11. 11's just what you needed. Well met, Summer Strider. I'm Durali. These are my hounds. These are my scouts. You speak of a hag, and we know but one hag that calls our forest home. Jenny Greenteeth. And spoken in this way, it's like when you listen to an American ad in Spanish. El Marte, El Marte, El Marte! Compra El Toyota, Honda, and Accords. As you all hear, Jenny Greenteeth come from her mouth. We know of the hag. We know where she stays now. And we suspect it is her doing, her breaking of her pact. Since the citizens of Flan broke their end of the bargain, have plunged us into this darkness. She spits as she finishes her sentence about Jenny Greenteeth. I trust that you are not the quarry we seek. You do not smell of our kin, nor are you stained with combat. We are looking for a family that lives near Glean Hall. We found webbing, purplish green blood in their stead. And our recent caster went out to search. She sounded very much like you all, lost in this place. High elf. She too never returned. So I ask of you, what brings you to our twisted home? What do you seek away from the villages?
Well, our first step away from the what passes as civilization in this place was searching for the Vistani people. They seem to have a way in which they can step through these woods, stay 1 or 2 feet ahead of these mists. Well, we were thinking that if we accidentally slipped into this plane, that perhaps there's a way to slip out. We had just done some work for these Vistani folk when they too similarly had a attack of sorts. This purplish blood, the webs, well, it brought us this way as we followed on a trail. My well-read friend over here says the beast's markings are consistent with that of an ettercap, a sort of arachnid, communal type creature that feeds on humanoids.
And with the words Ettercap, you see recognition dawn on her face. Of course. Then we share the same prey. Perhaps you would join us in going to their lair, so that we may have greater numbers. You may find who you seek, and we shall find who we seek.
Sounds like a reasonable proposition. Let me mull it over with my compatriots. He'll switch back into common and say to Alder and Virgil, this Durali individual here has offered us an opportunity to combine our forces. They seem to know where these Eder Caps potentially are hiding. They're looking for one of their own. Potentially, we could be helping each other out here. They too are lost. Their home, Green Hall. Alder, I think you know a little bit more about this stretch of woods than I do, but they too are looking for a way out. So maybe fostering a little goodwill here can win us on all accounts, both with the Vistani and these elves.
These are the Green Hall elves, and I take it.
Alder, you would not need a roll to know that these are absolutely Green Hall elves. The Moorcamp Burrow staff really gives it away.
Yeah. Well, I believe everything you're saying, then. They gotta be just as lost as we are. And the way I see it, if we don't take out any of what's in that cave, they're probably gonna keep preying on us the whole way through, so I think it's in our best interest to party up for it right now.
Well, I guess we found our next hometown to be heroes of.
It just comes with the business. And besides, if we're dealing with bugs, I would like to set a couple on fire myself.
Jove will nod and return his attention to the elven woman and say, in Elvish, discussed it with my friends here, and we will accompany you and combine our arms with yours and see what comes of it.
It is done. And the elves lower their weapons and begin to sling them on their shoulders until one looks over at you, Alder. Then looks at your shoes. And
says,
Jove,
"What are
you
those?"
the equivalent of the elven, "What are those?" as you hear him say, "First druid. Look." And her eyes snap to you, Alder. Why?
Alder immediately casts Comprehend Languages.
Immediately the elves tense up, begin to turn their full attention onto you, and Durali turns to you, Job, and says, "Why does your companion possess our boots?"
So cute.
They were on a fallen one of your own. As he speaks out in Elvish.
And
They are
Virgil's just sitting here.
Virgil, the one person, does speak Elvish.
He speaks true. The other day, we were traveling through this wood, and we found a briar patch of sorts with an animated tree that seemed to lay low one of your compatriots. Truly sorry, we did not know that he was one of your kin. Obviously, at the time, we were unaware of your presence and didn't see fit to leave such beautiful make there to rot in the forest. Hope you know we meant no disrespect or robbery or thieving or anything as such.
Alder, make a persuasion check with advantage since Jove has helped you out.
Is it 12?
12? Durali walks straight up to you, Alder. Return the shoes. Now.
And Alder senses the tension, and he'll go ahead and he'll plop down. take off each of them, reach into his bag, and take out the boots that he stashed away. And they were comfy too. He says that in common. He does not say that. No.
You return the boots back to the druid, and she nods to you. Thank you. And stores them in her pack. Then we have an accord. Forward. As you see her scouts begin dashing forward, blending into the very forest themselves. Their natural affinity for the woods, allowing them to pass with such grace and ease, it's almost like they're gliding through the forest. The hounds chase after, going at full speed, as Durali leads you forward. You see her trace a symbol onto the bark. Smears a little bit of that purplish green. And like a thread of gold light, you can see it twist around the tree, dive into the earth, and begin almost swimming down this path. As Durali begins to lead you further north, further west, Jove, you watch as the thread leads her. She follows it obsessively. It leads you around strange areas, up over stones, a path that you yourself likely would not have taken, perhaps not even have seen. As her magic guides her through the woods, it grows weaker and weaker before it blows away like leaves in the wind. You begin to push your way through a particularly dense clump of undergrowth. You hear Durali's Kushis begin to growl. The smell of death and rot is thick here. So thick that even Virgil and Alder, you can taste it on the air. In the darkness ahead, there are thick, long webs. They stretch out in dozens of feet from tree to tree. Dark shapes moving among the strands. Suspended within them, roughly 30 feet above the ground, you see a massive gray mass, like some sort of nest or cocoon, easily 20 feet across. A thick green fluid drips sluggishly from its bottom. Without warning, this mass jerks and writhes violently, and from within, you hear a panicked, muted voice cry out. Feminine, vaguely elvish. In response to the noise, you see a number of bloated creatures, each one taller than Virgil. They appear from the darker recesses of the web and can begin to descend upon the mass. Following all three of these creatures, you see a mass of spiders. Like sheep following a shepherd, they litter the ground until it looks like the very ground itself is skittering in hairy appendages. And as you see Durali stand side by side with her hounds, her scouts immediately taking to the trees and unsheathing arrows, notching them in their hilts. She turns back to you all. We have found them. Prepare yourselves. And as you all begin to prepare for the combat ahead, she says, Chithal, to arms. And that's where we're going to end it for tonight's session. Let us say goodnight to chat.
Good night, Jay.
Night, Jack.
Good night, Chad.
Have a most excellent evening, chat. Thank you once again for being here with us on this wonderful Sunday as we have finished the Seer and now head into our next module, the Ghost. Peace in the Middle East. Much love. We'll see you next Sunday. Bye-bye.